flip back the floor of the mouth, and here you can see that tongue. So mentioned this several times, that the tongue in fishes is immobile. It's not muscular. It's just fused to the floor of the mouth. Okay, so nothing much going on there. So our blood flow, and sometimes people have a kind of three-dimensional hard time with this, but the blood flow is going to go up here. It's going to go into these afferent branchioles. It passes up through the gills, okay, where it's going to be oxygenated in these branchial lamellae here, which is where the actual blood flow is going to contact the oxygenated water. That will then pass forward here, and then when it comes out of the gills up here, it's going to come out of these these will can expose these a little bit more here and there, but these are the efferent branchioles. So these are bringing the oxygenated blood back to the dorsal aorta. So these are the paired dorsal aortae up here, and then you have a series of these efferent branchioles. And if you continue down here, you can actually sort of go a little bit further down, and you can see, rip into this, you can go here behind the esophagus, and you can see where all of these efferent branchioles actually join together to form the dorsal aorta, which is right here. Right? So basically all of those are coming together to form the dorsal aorta. Then the other things to see in this general area, there's this sort of squiggly branch that runs over and actually crosses over the top of these. This is the pharyngoesophageal artery, and this is going to the esophagus, and it's also bringing blood flow to the roof of the mouth. Okay? And then way up at the very top, okay, if you poke your probe in, your spiracle is coming in up in here. Right? So where's my spiracle on that side? There it is. So the spiracle is up in here, and there's going to be a little spiracular artery that goes out to the edge of the spiracle. And then above the dorsal aortae, these two dorsal aortae come up and they join, and still has a little of this on top of it, but there we go. Pull that off. Where they join, they form this loop at the top, and there's actually a little nub in here that goes right up into the chondrocranium here. And so that's the carotid system. That's bringing the blood flow directly to the brain here. And somebody was asking before, like, what happens to the blood that goes up to the brain? Because we talked about all the ways that the blood can come back to the body. But from the brain, this is going to come back through what would be, in mammals, will be the jugular system, right? It's the main veins for the throat area. In this case, these come back through this system, which is in the head, but mostly is not blood vessels, but is blood sinuses. So if you look here, you'll see that this whole anterior part up here, there's these vessels up here. These are the interior jugulars that lead down into this big sinus system. So on the sides of the head is where those jugular veins are going to be, and they're going to lead into this big sinus system, which partly is the sinus venosus, partly is this sinus at the top of the liver, partly there's a sinus associated with the gonads. They all come together in this large, flat area where the blood can pool here. So the jugulars are coming down here. You don't see them because the jugulars are not injected. The venous system has a bunch of backwards pointing valves inside, so you can't backfill it with the latex. You can only fill in the correct direction and blood will flow through it. And that's why these jugulars are not injected. It's also why the renal portal system is not injected. The only way you could inject it is to make yet another cut and injection into the animal right in that renal portal vein to do it. And it's actually too small, really, to get much latex in it. Okay? So that is our circulation for the head up there. Okay? Things go from the ventral surface up to oxygenation, join up here at the head. Mostly they go back to form, these efferents go back to form the dorsal aorta, but these paired dorsal aortae up here lead forward and up into the carotid system. Okay. So we'll look at this in more detail, and we'll look at the evolution especially of the systemic system, the carotid system and the pulmonary system. We'll talk in lecture next time about the circulatory system. Okay, so pretty straightforward, I think.